We begin the news at this hour by telling you that Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima is to depart Abuja to represent President Bola Tinubu at the 2024 U.S.-Africa Business Summit in the United States, hosted by the Corporate Council on Africa. The Vice President will join other political and business leaders across Africa, the United States of America, and beyond for the summit, featuring high-level dialogues, networking business sessions, and the plenary, all scheduled for the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas, Texas. African leaders expected at the summit include the presidents of the Republic of Liberia, the presidents of the Republic of Malawi, presidents of the Republic of Angola, amongst others. Vice President Shettima is expected to speak at the roundtable on African infrastructure investments, focusing on impact and returns. Now, we'll tell you that the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has filed a lawsuit against the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, before the Federal High Court in Abuja. Also joined in the suit were the 36 state governors in Nigeria over their failure to account for and publish the agreements of the 5.9 trillion naira and 4.6 billion naira loans obtained by their states and the FCT. SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare said the group asked the court to direct and compel the governors and Wike to account for 5.9 trillion naira and the 4.6 billion naira loans obtained by the states, and to also publish copies of the loan agreements, location of the projects likewise executed with the loans. Now, joining us on the news to discuss this is Kolawole Oluwadare, Deputy Director, SERAP. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. Okay, I guess we just lost communication with who would have been the right person to talk to looking at this particular discussion, but it's something we're going to keep looking at to see if we can bring him on the news to talk about this. In the meantime, we tell you that marketers under the aegis of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria have said their National Executive Council would be meeting officially on Monday to find a lasting solution to the problem. The national president of IPMAN, Ahmed Fashola, said that Monday's meeting became expedient following the prevalence of fuel scarcity, despite recent aggressive moves by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Fashola said the NNPC, which is the sole importer of petroleum products in the country, opened up its reserves to all existing depots across the country on Friday in a bid to ease off the long queues at the filling stations. Now, we are being joined on the news by Omar Babakano Jada, who is the National Treasurer for IPMAN, and he will be talking to us more about this. Thank you so much, Usman, for joining us on the news at this time. Umar, rather, for joining us at this time. It's nice to have you around.
Good evening.
So, is there any tangible reason as to why Nigeria is experiencing fuel scarcity at this time, despite efforts to ensure availability by the NNPC?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, there are some issues. There are some lingering issues that caused the petroleum scarcity some days back. But at least now all hands are on deck, that we have enough products, and all our marketers are at least now loading without hitch-free loading, having hitch-free loadings. And the output has improved dramatically. And we are hoping within the shortest time possible, all this will disappear.
Well, that has not really happened when you look at different localities within Nigeria in different states. For example, my area, my route to my house, I discovered that there are still queues on the way and some filling stations are still not selling. And I believe that Nigerians need to know why there is this fuel scarcity, because NNPC said all depots have been opened, but then we still do not have these filling stations dispensing fuel to consumers. So why is it that there's a scarcity?
Yeah, it may be. There might be an issue of maybe some stations not dispensing fuel. Maybe they have not got. Maybe on your way, you say your locality, maybe, but from your office to your house, 10 filling stations that are selling fuel today, you will count more than 10 or even 20. Because as far as we are concerned, for sure, we have enough fuel now, and we are loading throughout, even since from last weekend, we have been loading throughout the weekends up to the week.
Okay.
And I can assure you, and everybody knows that at least there's an improvement than the way it was.
Okay, now, Omar, 5 days ago, it was reported that Ipman threatened to shut down 30,000 filling stations due to 200 billion naira being owed by the federal government over bridging claims. So is that why petrol is being hoarded?
No, that one has been there for quite a long time. I know there was a time during the maybe first quarter of the issue with the NMDPRA. That's the defunct PEF, Petroleum Equalization Fund, whereas our monies have been held there for quite some time. And that is causing so much to our constituency, to our members here, because without enough, capital for you to, serviceable for them to go and load, you have same issue. And but that is just a warning. It does not affect this for now, because as you said, it was just 5 days ago, and this fuel scarcity has been there for. That will not affect it for now. It is part of us that had this issue. That's from the unit chairman. They also have their own people whom they came together with. That if at all they have not been paid, something like this may happen, but at least it is still under control.
Okay, well, Omar, we are having issues with audio from your end, but then we'll try to make meat of this particular discussion. Now, some petroleum marketers within your fold have been accused of exploiting the present situation of this fuel scarcity to make more money by deliberately hoarding the commodity and sell at a higher rate. Can you confirm this particular accusation?
Generally, when you have the scarcity, some people, get to exploit the. Everybody, not all marketers. I can say nobody is doing that. I cannot say nobody is doing that, but not all marketers. Not everybody. Why would you hold the product?
Omar, quite a number.
There was nothing like this.
Quite a number of these independent marketers are actually hoarding, because, like I said, when you move around within 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, you discover that some filling stations are not selling, while it's been confirmed that they do have stock within, within the facility. So when we continue to hide under the guise of whether we know or we don't know, the truth of the matter is that you go on the streets, you discover that that is true. And in some filling stations, the price have skyrocketed. We don't even have an official price, whether it's still 700, 600, 580, 1,000, 1,002. We don't understand. So we need to understand or have a true picture of what obtains. Do you have a monitoring team that goes around to ascertain if these filling stations are hoarding, or if prices are, with impunity are being hiked? We need to understand this.
Yeah, right. As you have said earlier, we have called for emergency meeting that's tomorrow, where we have so much complaints about this, and we have a task force put in place. Whereas so far, all the stations we went to are not having fuel bought from the NNPC depots. Some might be having some reserve, maybe of 800 to 1,000 liters. Yeah, you cannot say he doesn't have fuel. So, but that fuel is more or less a reserve. Even though in such situations, you cannot keep those type of amount. So, but nevertheless, we have now called for an emergency meeting tomorrow to look into all these accusations. But as far as we are concerned, there is nothing like this. Because, people can magnify things, whenever they see something of such a nature. Like now you are saying some of the stations are selling about 700 know the source of his product. Some places they buy it also at a parallel market. So to bring it, how do you compare a person who bought maybe, if at all, officially it's around 600 to 670 or so, somebody who bought at 670, and someone who bought at 720, maybe selling 750. How do you compare the person selling at 750, whereas he bought at 720, than the holders, or maybe those black marketers selling at maybe 1,500, 1,200 in even guarantee the quality of the products?
All right, Omar, we may need to stretch this further, but then time is not on our side. I really want to appreciate the fact that you actually came on board to talk to us about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on now. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has acknowledged the global rise in the pharmaceutical costs. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to addressing the crisis through the presidential initiative to unlock the pharmaceutical value chain. Pate identified forex devaluation and healthcare financing challenges as underlying factors contributing to the crisis, impacting affordability and access to essential medical care. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and the Ministry of Health have also announced collaborative efforts to alleviate the financial burden on citizens. Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission says it will begin to block loan apps that harass their customers. Nigerians have complained about the harassment they are subjected to by loan sharks. However, the Commission's acting chairman, Adamu Abdullahi, said the agency has begun to address the issue. In March, the Nigeria Data Protection Commission investigated over 400 privacy breaches involving online loan apps. Away from that, Nigeria is now ranked as one of the most vulnerable countries in the area of climate change around the world. The chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Akintunde Rotimi, said that Nigeria is now ranked as one of the most vulnerable countries in the area of climate change around the world. Rotimi said this is evident in the several challenges the country faces, including flooding, drought, food insecurity, erosion, extreme temperature, and even conflicts due to resource scarcity and struggle. Rotimi compared climate change and conflict, adding that in different parts of the country, climate change is exacerbating the root causes of the conflict. Now, a 17-year-old Kanuri child, Musa Zana Mustafa, has developed an artificial intelligence platform dedicated to preserving the rich cultural heritage of the Kanuri people and historical Kanem Borno Empire. Kanuri is the dominant ethnic nationality in Borno State, northeast of Nigeria. News Central's Marikirawa tells us more in this report.
The longest-standing kingdom across the globe, the Kanem Borno, with its rich cultural heritage. Sustaining this is what this young Musa Zanna Mustafa is working on. Mustafa's initiative aims to ensure that the invaluable heritage of his community remains accessible to future generations in the digital age.
There is an artificial intelligence Kanuri Empire, which can help in the preservation of Kanuri language. Also, there is Land Kanuri Bot, which is another artificial intelligence. It teaches a user Kanuri language.
The young born from Bama developed the platform called Kanem Empire, which helps users to access information about the rich heritage of the Kanuris and also learn the language.
I was just 4 when I lost my mother. I went to my father. He always used to work with his computer. I was inspired by the work he does, and that's how I started. He trained me on digital skills, artificial intelligence, among others.
The young inventor showed me how the technology works, highlighting how he programmed the platform to provide information and answer questions about the Kanem Borno Empire. Although the Kanuri artificial intelligence platforms are not yet popular, amazement is the reaction of the executive secretary of Borno State Information and Communication Technology Development Agency, among others in the state.
The boy has done something great to the preservation of history and culture of Kanuri, which is fast degrading because of absence of this kind of a thing. But I've seen his application, which is very, very excellent.
I believe that all the royal family will be proud to see these kind of things. And then this will actually teach us, and some of us that don't know about the history will also learn from this.
A boy like this, at his teenage age, doing something like this, if he gets support from some responsible leaders, so when he grew up, he can do better than what he did now.
Through interactive lessons and personalized feedback, learners worldwide can now embark on a journey to master the intricacies of the Kanuri language, fostering greater understanding and appreciation of linguistic diversity.
This boy deserves a lot, and I am sure that every stakeholder who is proud to see Kanuri heritage is being promoted at the digital level, and as well to make sure that a lot of people have access to understand the Kanuri language and what it is about the history that we have. So he will make sure that he reward that boy with a huge reward.
The boy you are talking about, we are just hearing it for the first time, and I want to believe in the next 1 week, you will see when we, get his detail, you will see how the government will support him.
The only aspiration of Musa Zanna Mustafa and his family is for the young talented boy to further his studies.
I was very happy when I checked my JAM result and I scored beyond what it has been, the cut-off mark. Unfortunately, I was not offered admission. I was very angry, and I need more support to further my education.
He got 225 points in his JAM with 9 credit. Yet, the university didn't give him admission. I'm not happy, so I'll be very grateful if the government would find admission for him and scholarship for him to study, particularly in either MIT or Harvard University. I know he has the capability to do that.
A journey of 1,000 miles, they say, begins with a step. But most importantly, with adequate support, a journey as this might just be a wonder that will be written in the books of history. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Fantastic report, Umaru Kirawa. Thank you so much. Now, the Nigerian Police Force has called for the cooperation of the National Union Road Transport Workers towards an effective policing system across Nigeria. The call was made at the inauguration of the union branch chairman and their executives in Asaba, the Delta State capital, South Nigeria. Austin Azu has the details.
Executives and members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Delta State Chapter, converged on the cenotaph, Asaba, the state capital, for the inauguration ceremony of the local government chairman and the executives of the union at the grassroots level.
I solemnly swear, affirm that I shall be faithful.
In his remarks, the State Commissioner of Police, represented by the Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of Area Command, Asaba, expressed worries over recent security challenges across the state and sued for robust collaboration with the union towards an effective policy system across the state. In the same vein, the State Sector Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps also advised the union to educate their members on the rules of the road. Similarly, the representative of the State Commissioner for Transport urged the union members to work in line with the more agenda of the state government.
The drivers are most important people in terms of information to police. While you are in your duty post, you'll be hearing a lot of things. While you are at the garage, you'll be seeing a lot of things. Please, for the sake of security and for the sake of the security of the nation, pass the information to the police.
We've been able to impart to all the ESCO, the branch chairmen, the need for them to sensitize their people so that they can obey the rules and regulations of the use of the road.
He also equally told me that I should advise the newly inaugurated local government representatives that they should pass this message down to all their members that are not present here, that we need peace in the state.
Earlier in his welcome address, the state chairman of the union called for the unity of the members towards achieving its set goals.
Continue to be peaceful in their place of work and work according to the rules of the constitutions of the union, and to make sure they stand on their existing peace in Delta State.
If there's one thing so deserving among residents of Delta State, it remains peaceful coexistence and atmosphere for businesses to strive. In Asaba, Delta State for News Central, Austin, Azu.
We also tell you that Nigeria's federal government has warned non-performing centers of excellence under the sponsorship of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund that it will suspend their funding support. Nigeria's Minister of Education, Maman Tahir, made this known in the nation's capital, Abuja, while receiving a report of the assessment and review of the centers under the fund and skills development special intervention. The minister opposed the submission of the report, which recommended that all non-performing centers of excellence should be given a 6-month grace period to help them refocus on achieving their core mandate. Earlier, we were joined on the news by Dr. Oludaria Kilaja, Managing Partner, OAR&D Company.
Clearly say the chairman is suggesting that we pay attention to monetary money. It's like, I am not inclined to that. I think we need to refocus as to what TED Fund was originally set up to do. Now, if you look around our campuses, our universities, you will literally see some work done by TED Fund with respect to maybe building classrooms and building certain centers and certain stuff. So if you go around our university, you see most of these things being done by TED Fund. But from these conversations, seems to me like they are trying to refocus and say, apart from these constructions and this infrastructure we're working on, which is also important, I think it's also important for us to focus on research, focus on conversations that have to do with the development of our society. Of course, you know that these centers of excellence or research institutions are important to the growth of our society. How do we start to research on biotechnology? How can we start to research on agriculture? How do we preserve our food? How do we look at urban and regional planning? Who is coming up with new research concepts as to leadership, sociology, how we exist as a people. These are the conversations that should be coming out, and TED Fund needs to put more of its investment in such research.
On a sad note, a former Minister of Education and an industrialist, Kenneth Gbagi, has died at the age of 62. Gbagi was the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in the last election in Delta State. He was reported to have died on Saturday, May 4. This was confirmed in a statement released by his family. Meanwhile, former Delta State Governor James Ibori has taken to social media to mourn the passing of former Education Minister and industrialist Kenneth Gbagi. Gbagi, who was the 2023 governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Delta State, died on Saturday, May 4, at the age of 62. Reacting to the news of the demise of the former minister, Ibori took to his Facebook page to bid him farewell. Away from that, prostitution or commercial sex is often argued to be one of the oldest professions in the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, commercial sex workers have always been common sights at night on the busy streets, nooks and crannies of the city, especially at the weekend. Despite being characterized as a social vice, members of this profession are not only fast gaining popularity, but also seem to be gaining a level of acceptance as they equally become more vocal. In this special feature, News Central's special correspondent on investigative journalism, Marshall Anthony Ononye, gets to sit down with a sex worker who speaks on the pros and cons of being a call girl in the city of Lagos. His reports.
Prostitution is at an alarming rate in Nigeria. It is seen as a deviant subculture in Nigeria and practiced by prostitutes in private homes, brothels, hotels, bars, and other X-rated social recreational centers as an adaptation to poverty, unemployment, and as a feasible way to make money. On a visit to one of the many brothels in the capital city of Ikeja, Lagos, I was greeted by a group of ladies standing by the doors to their cubicles and rooms where customers who come soliciting sex are taken in, and then, for as low as 1,000 naira, customers can have the pleasure they seek. After surfing through the array of ladies wooing me as a prospective customer, I met with Samantha. Samantha was willing to come in front of the camera to throw some light on a few things about her kind of profession.
Market is very, very bad. And it's bad these days. Because you see a guy that is giving you maybe 20K or 15K for a short time. You go tell you, say, baby girl, na 8K demand, if you manage 10K. Now they give you, when they give you 30K, maybe 40K night, you go tell you, say, na 20K again, na 15K again. You look and say, not be you give me 50K last week. You know that they call me this week, they tell me, say, you give me 50K, you give me 10K. Oh God, this is not cost for your side. You go say, we don't know before now. They buy food, they go that place. I mean, they put, finish the gas. They don't they put anything inside, but the things we are using to take care of ourselves with the hookup babes.
In her view, prostitution, just like any other profession, has its high days and some very low days, depending on the economic realities.
If it comes out to be low, maybe some days like 15, 20, some days you see 40, 60, 50, I like.
Prostitution has been known to be associated with some social vices, including sexual harassment, alcoholism, drug addiction, and unwanted pregnancy. Others include unsafe abortion, fighting, marital instability, and divorce. With this in mind, Samantha advises women on what to do to stop their husbands from seeking ladies like her for solace and sexual pleasures.
Kill that thing they call jealousy and be a good listener. Although your man is doing the wrong way or you will catch him, say, just throw your face off like, say, it not concern you. Don't speak at what people say outside and come home and start nagging, because men hate nagging.
She further harps on the need to always use protection to guard against the spread of sexually transmitted diseases such as syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV/AIDS, amongst others.
Infection drugs, infection injections self don't cost. Condom don't cost. So if you don't want to be attracted to yamayama and manemene, so use your Oluwa kiss or good circle to protect your kingdom for the future.
In an online report published by Punch newspaper in 2016, it was reported that in the small city of Old Oja Road in the Amu-Odofin local government area of Lagos State, brothels had gone from about 50 in number to an alarming over 200 from just 2 years earlier. And this can be said to have been replicated in all the 20 local governments of the state. It is mostly on the heels of the impact these numbers can have on the Nigerian economy at large that rights advocate Libros Oshoma is suing to have these members of the society and their profession legally recognized.
They legalize these things, and so you register them just the same way you, as a journalist, you are registered with an association. You register them, you ensure, because the job is dangerous, you also ensure that because of through registration, you are able to capture the data of people who are involved to ensure also that they carry out regular medical checks, just the same way you carry out regular medical checks. And so, why is government doing all of this? It's for the purpose of taxing. So you now know that this is a job. Let me tell you, do you know that the budget for sex in Nigeria is triple the national budget?
With ancient history dating back as 2400 BC, recording prostitution as an occupation, it just might be more proactive for countries to devise ways to better manage and regulate prostitution than continue to give practitioners and promoters a course to hide in the dark to carry out their unwholesome activities, thereby coloring it with various shades of vices and crimes. For News Central, Marshal Anthony Onoye.
You're still there, even as the news continues in West Africa, where Niger has welcomed a new contingent of Russian military advisors and equipment, further expanding its military cooperation with Moscow. This development follows the arrival of approximately 100 advisors and air defense systems earlier in April. The timing of this influx of Russian support is occurring amid escalating tensions between the Niger Republic and the United States. Since the military junta seized power in a coup last July, Niger has expelled French troops and renounced military cooperation agreements with the U.S., signaling a shift in its geopolitical alliances. Observers view Niger's deepening ties with Russia as a strategic move, particularly in the context of ongoing military junta-led governments in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso, both grappling with Islamist insurgencies. Of particular concern is the presence of Russian troops at the Nigerian air base that also hosts U.S. forces. Negotiations regarding the withdrawal of U.S. troops from the base are underway, reflecting the delicate geopolitical balancing act unfolding in the region. And now to bring you updates on the OIC summit, Gambian President Adama Barrow says he has always been consistent in his support for the Palestinian cause since coming to power. Barrow urged the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to speak with one voice for Palestine to be free. Barrow made this call at the closing press conference of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit in Banjul.
Our message is very, very clear. We have always been very, very consistent when it comes to the Palestinian issue. If you have been following the Gambia since I came to power, there is no statement that we have delivered at the UNGA without mentioning Palestine. So we have been following Palestinians keenly, and we support them, and we will do everything possible to mobilize the organization so that we speak with one voice to make sure Palestine is free, not even ceasefire, but a permanent ceasefire, and at the same time we deliver the project of the Palestinian people to their independence. That's what we are working.
In the meantime, the Palestinian question has continued to be the central priority of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Faisal bin Faryan Al Saud said this at the opening of the 15th OIC Summit in Banjul, Gambia. At this year's summit, a resolution on Gaza is expected to close on Sunday. Speaking at the summit, the Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister reaffirmed the kingdom's call for an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Gaza.
لا تزال القضية الفلسطينية أولوية لدى منظمة التعاون الإسلامي منذ إنشائها، والتي تعبر عن صوت الأمة الإسلامية وضميرها الحي في نصرة الشعب الفلسطيني الشقيق ورفع الظلم عنه إلى أن يحصل على كافة حقوقه المشروعة التي كفلتها قرارات الشرعية الدولية ومبادرة السلام العربية. وإنه لمن المؤسف أن نشهد فشل مجلس الأمن والمجتمع الدولي حتى الآن في وقف الاعتداءات الإسرائيلية والتي تصاعدت بشكل غير مسبوق من خلال القصف العشوائي وتدمير المستشفيات والمدارس.
This bold move illustrates the collective commitment of the international community to the principle of justice and human rights. It sends a powerful message that impunity for grave violations of international law, such as those.
In East Africa, the death toll from weeks of relentless rains and floods in Kenya has climbed to 228 as authorities warn of continued crisis conditions, despite escaping major damage from a tropical cyclone that weakened after hitting land. Kenya and neighboring Tanzania are still grappling with torrential downpours and the looming threat of further floods and landslides. In western Kenya, the river Nyando overflowed early on Sunday, overwhelming a police station, school, hospital, and market in Ahero, Kisumu County. While there are no immediate reports of casualties, local police caution that water levels are still rising, with the main bridge outside Kisumu along the Nairobi highway submerged. The region has been besieged by weeks of heavier than usual seasonal rains, worsened by the El Nino weather pattern, wreaking havoc across East Africa.
Koro sani kata sanduku la impibalo akia ane koto piogo lagutie no sabi ka winyo mana ka otu muocha Ka wok ta do ka koro to baro re. A woka bana kaka anene sabi.
Possibly this night, we don't know how we are going to do. We are going to sleep in the cold. All our belongings were swept with the flood, and we don't have anyone. These are our animals. We are just going to put them here till we shall come for rescue. Anyone who will help.
From other continents, we tell you that polling stations have opened in Panama City, Panama, for the country's presidential elections. The election has 8 candidates, with the protege of an ex-head of state convicted of corruption in the lead. Lines formed outside polling stations early in the morning as the Central American country of 3 million people cast ballots for a new president, Congress, and local governments. We also tell you that at least 60 people have died and 70,000 have been evacuated as devastating floods hit the state of Rio Grande do Sul, of which Porto Alegre is the capital of Mexico. The Guaba River, which flows through the city of 1.4 million people, reached a record high level of 5.09 meters, according to the local municipality, well above the historic peak of 4.76 meters that had stood as a record since devastating 1941 floods. The water was still advancing into economically important Porto Alegre and around 100 of other localities, with increasingly dramatic consequences. Away from that, Western Australian police shot and killed a radicalized 16-year-old boy with a knife who had stabbed a man in the Perth car park. The teenager rushed at the police, who responded by shooting him twice with tasers before firing a single fatal shot. It was reported that the police received a call late on Saturday from a male warning that he was going to commit acts of violence, but without giving his name or location. Within minutes, another emergency call alerted police that a male with a knife was running around the car park in Wilton, a southern suburb of Perth. We now join our business desk for business updates.
Welcome to Business News. Global food prices increased for the second consecutive month in April, reversing a 7-month decline. The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, reported that the food price index rose 0.3% to 119.1 points from March 118.3 points, but down 7.4% from April 2023, driven by meat and vegetable oil prices. The meat price index, a key driver, rose 1.6% from the previous month, but decreased by 0.4% compared to a year ago. Poultry meat prices rose due to steady imports by Middle Eastern countries amid avian influenza outbreaks. Vegetable prices increased slightly, led by higher sunflower and rapeseed oil prices, despite slightly lower palm and soy oil prices. Sugar prices fell for the second consecutive month due to improved global supply prospects, particularly in India and Thailand. The dairy price index decreased by 0.3%, the first decline in 6 months, primarily due to lower skim milk powder prices in the international market. The African Development Bank, AFDB, praised Ogun State as a strong partner in its development programs and project implementation. Professor Banji Oyelaro Oyeyinka, the AFDB Special Advisor to the President on Industrialization, made a statement after meeting with Governor Dapo Abiodun at the Governor's office in Abeokuta. The meeting focused on developing the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone and clarifying the subsidiary loan agreement between the state and the federal government. Commissioner for Agriculture, Mr. Bolu Owotomo, highlighted the state's benefit from multiple agricultural transformation centers, which would supply raw materials to the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone. He noted ongoing efforts to distribute inputs to farmers, train extension officers, and promote climate-smart farming practices for improved harvest and livelihoods. And that's the package on Business News at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
We now bring you sports news.
In the world of sport, the Rivers Hoopers clinched a decisive 86-82 victory over APR Rwanda in their second game of the Basketball Africa League Sahara Conference. With electrifying plays and tenacious defense, the Nigerian squad showed their prowess on the court, solidifying their presence as a force to be reckoned with at the BK Arena in Dakar, Senegal. From the opening tip-off, the Hoopers set the pace of the game, displaying precision passes and seamless teamwork. Their offensive strategy, orchestrated with finesse, allowed them to command the scoreboard early on. However, APR, known for their resilience, retaliated with a barrage of shots, keeping the scoreline close throughout the first quarter. As the game progressed, both teams battled fiercely for every possession. The Hoopers' defense proved instrumental in thwarting APR's offensive effort, forcing turnovers and converting them into fast break opportunities. Led by a stand-up performance by latest signee Willie Perry, scoring 31 points, 4 rebounds and 3 assists, the Nigerian side maintained their composure under pressure, executing crucial plays down the stretch. Former Nigerian Football Federation President Amaju Pinnick has made a revealing statement regarding the appointment of Finidi George as the new head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Speaking as a guest on our flagship weekend show, Breakfast Extra, Pinnick expressed his belief that George's appointment has come at the perfect time. He highlighted the importance of continuity from the previous coach Jose Peseiro and emphasized the need for George to receive adequate support and resources to lead the team to victory. Pinnick further revealed that George's appointment holds significant importance as the Super Eagles gear up for their 2 crucial fixtures against South Africa and Benin Republic in June.
Because at that critical point, he was the head coach of the national team, second only to Peseiro. So all Peseiro achieved, he was an integral part of. If it was Amunike that was in that stead, definitely I would have supported him, because now, between now and June, we have very critical matches. We have a match against Benin Republic, we have against South Africa. These are no joke. They are very, very tough matches, trust me. So we do not have time. So bringing any other person apart from Finidi would have been experimental. But Finidi, largely because he's been with these players, he's been with the team, especially in the last 2-3 years, he knows some of their weaknesses and some of their strengths.
Finally, in the world of sport, Chelsea strengthened their chances of securing European football next season as they cruised to a 5-0 victory against West Ham at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. It took just 15 minutes for Chelsea to get their noses in front, with Cole Palmer reacting quickest to meet a loose ball in the West Ham box. Goals from Conor Gallagher, Noni Madueke and a brace from Nicholas Jackson helped Chelsea to seal the victory. With just 3 games left to play, Chelsea's season seems to be heading for a strong finish as they climbed up to 7th and sit just 2 points shy of 6th place Newcastle and West Ham. With 2 games remaining, they stay in 9th position on the Premier League table. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we'll quickly take a look at some of our top stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima to represent Nigeria at the 2024 U.S.-Africa Business Summit. Death toll from Kenya flood climbs to 228 as crisis persists. Finally, we told you that the Niger Republic welcomes a new contingent of military advisors and equipment as Russia expands its presence in the Sahel country. Do send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onabanjo.